Hello and aloha. And I wanted to actually talk a little bit about the flute for those of you who might be interested or have any children who are interested in learning how to play the flute. I'm offering music classes right now online because of the COVID-19. I can't do person-to-person lessons, but I am offering Zoom and Skype classes in many different instruments, including singing, beginning, middle, and advanced, guitar, ukulele, recorder for those of you who are young and want to learn recorder. That was the first instrument I ever learned at 5, and flute, of course, and I'm offering in music theory classes as well. And so you can either I'll leave my email. You can email me if you or any of your children are interested in any music lessons on Zoom or Skype, and or if you're interested in yourself. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk a little bit about flute. So I'm going to be providing some free classes here just to give you an idea of some of my teaching style when you are learning to play the flute. Okay, so first thing is, of course, picking a flute. Coming to a flute is maybe a daunting kind of, because you may think, oh, I can't blow, but actually, or maybe that's a girl's instrument. You know, I was one of 12 girls and I was the only boy, but I naturally wanted to play flute. And so it's not really, a flute is not a man's or a woman's instrument, because there are a lot of men around the world who play flute, and there are women who play flute as well. So just putting that aside, when you want to pick a flute, I would think that generally about $200 might be at a reasonable amount of money for a student model. There are student models that you can get up to $500. I wouldn't personally pick out anything higher than $500 until you or your child are certain that you've gotten to a certain point in skill in your flute and you want to continue, and then maybe in a couple years you can upgrade to your flute. The first flute I ever had was an Artley. Actually, I had it even before an Artley. I can't even remember the brand. It was a school model when I was 11. And I was given a brand, I don't even remember. It was junky little flute. But, you know, I really loved playing the flute. So my parents bought me an Artley, which is, a standard student model brand. But a lot of the big names like Yamaha, Gemeinhardt, Kaiser, Jupiter, they all have student model flutes. And for example, like the Yamaha 221 is a good flute. I have a Gemeinhardt. It's not a student model, but it's a good. I like Gemeinhardt. If you're learning classical, it's a really good thing. Sometimes Jupiter or Yamaha is better for if you're learning pop or jazz, because it has a different tone. But Gemeinhardt is also a good brand as well. So those are things that you can check out at your, on Amazon, but although you can go to the store and check those things out as well eventually. I personally like to handle the flute and see which, take a look at it, and not all, sometimes the flute, every flute is a little bit different and you have to find your own instrument. So that's what that is. So what I want to do is I want to talk to you a little bit about the nature of the flute. This is generally a flute is in what we call the key of C. This one is in B, and it's an open hole. But for student model, I recommend it. For beginners, I recommend getting a C closed hole flute. So these little holes here will be closed, or you can, if you want to get an open hole to learn open hole eventually, you can get little plastic pegs. They sell them online. They're very cheap. But yeah, I recommend a closed hole for beginning student, and a C. Our flute comes in 3 parts. So we have the head. Here's the head. You can see the hole where we actually put our mouth over right there. And we have the body. This is the body of the flute where most of the fingerings happen. And then you have your, I'm going to give you a good shot of it. That's the foot or the tail of the flute. And it will go on the very end and the mouthpiece will go in here. Now, when you're beginning the flute, okay, it's good to understand those things. So I'm going to teach you a little bit about the mouth of the flute and practicing it, okay? Now, the first thing to know about when you are practicing your flute is to learn what is called embouchure. And so embouchure is the tone that you create with your mouth, the air, to allow the air to go into the flute and make sound. So that is a practice of itself, okay? It's something that you can practice. But what I'd like you to do is right now, just think of your lip in a T, almost like a kiss. But you have a T and a two, so it's more like a two. And now you're almost kind of like whistle through that little hole in your lips. You can practice that, and also put your fingers up to your lips here. And what you want to work towards is having a very thin column of air. You can probably feel it coming out of your lips. And that is what comes with breath control. And I will probably have more classes on this where if you're interested, I will post more of them. But also if you're interested in learning, you can also email me or direct message me below in the Facebook thing. I also have the YouTube channel. I'll share the channel page for that too, where I'll post these lessons. And if you're interested, just let me know and we can set up an appointment. I'll let you know my prices and whatnot. But so what you want to do is, if you can see this hole, what you're going to do is you're going to have your mouth here, but you're going to have your lips, almost the bottom of your lip, sitting just above the hole, right about, I'm going to put it here, actually, see if I can get it in the picture there, okay? Right about in here, okay? So what you want to do is you're going to put your hand on the hole, put your lip there, and practice the T-2-2-2-2 going through. Now, of course, I've been playing since for 40 years, so my sound is really good. You may have a sound that's, you may not get really good, but just take your time. Maybe try not to expend too much air, but just a little air at a time. Otherwise, sometimes you get a little lightheaded. But just keep practicing with it, with your hand over it first. Now, once you've gotten that, if you can do that, you can take your hand off. That's a little harder. So this is the beginning of practicing the flute. And you really want to get a good embouchure. So that is a really key until you have a good sound without getting too lightheaded and expending too much air, is to get that good sound. Because ultimately, how you blow through here is going to affect how your sound is. So if you can't really play very well, right? If you blow too much air. But if you have a strong embouchure, then you have a good sound. So I hope that little lesson was helpful for those of you who are wanting to learn more about flute. Stay tuned for more beginning free lessons that I'll be offering in my other instruments that I'm teaching. And let me know if you want to have some lessons. And I have a lot of free time, and I know you do too, because we're all stuck at home. So thank you for joining me today, and I hope this was helpful. Okay, mahalo, aloha.